Good morning and welcome to the My Tarot morning reflection. I was sitting here just with my eyes closed. I didn't realize that the music wasn't there. So you got to see how I start. It's like, man, good morning. That's funny. Normally I have my little music going. It's like, oh, you caught the man behind the curtain. Oh my goodness. But that's okay. At least I wasn't picking my nose in meditation. Digging deep in thought. So, good morning. And again, welcome to our little chance to take a breath. An excuse to take 10 or 15 minutes to make sure our feet are flat on the floor, butts comfortable in the seat, shoulders relaxed, neck relaxed. And taking that breath, listening to the cards like they're the sounds of the ocean. So, and part of me was actually thinking about I got to start getting... I've got an idea on how I want to do the next event that's coming up, the next Tea and Tarot, which is going to be focusing on demystifying the minors. So I also had that at the back of my head when I was sitting there thinking and opened up my eyes and like, I'm staring back at me. So what does the universe have for us today? You know, I was listening to a podcast, one of my favorite, The Infinite Monkey Cage. And they were talking about somebody, it was an older episode, but they had a professor. And it's a science program, but they were talking to a professor who was talking about, they noticed every morning this professor was reading astrology, read their astrology every morning. And they asked him why he did it. It's like, do you believe in astrology? He's like, no, I don't believe in astrology. But it gives him a focus for the day. It makes him feel good. So he says, that's why I do it. And so this is kind of like with the tarot or any kind of meditation. It's like, it doesn't have to have a deep meaning. For some of us it does, others it doesn't. But it's just a way of giving us a focus for the day. And it doesn't matter what that means. And he ended up saying that's like, you know, it makes him feel better. So at the end of the day, having that focus, so he just does it. That's kind of like this. I don't look for how things work, why things work. I just know at the end of the day, it feels better. So, let's see what we have going on for the day. Well, that's the whole point. What can we do to just start our day off a little bit better? But today, we're going to check in with the universe. And as I say, the universe is going to hold up a mirror, ask us what do we see, and we will use the tarot as that reflection. And to do that, I'm going to make our 3 stacks. Each one of these a different thread going out to the universe. Each one's like a different thought or idea. And if you believe in the multiverse, it's like each one of these is a different path. Because whichever one I choose, there's going to be like 2 paths, 2 different conversations. And like that professor, 2 different focuses that we did not take. Today we're going to take a look at what's at the bottom stack, which I like to think of as things that are underneath that might be influencing us. So that means we're going to have a whole different conversation. You know, I have a video on how I do that shuffle. I made it a long time ago. It took me a long time to get the riffle shuffle. It did. And I would sit there and I would watch TV and I would just practice doing it. Because, again, it's like it's one of those things where, you know, those big decks would just wear my hands out. And it's like learning how to do the riffle shuffle after hours and hours, like I say, of not even thinking about it, but just watching TV or doing something else, really has saved my hands. So here we have our cards. I'll flip each one over like they are the pages of a book. So the first card today, we have the Knight of Cups. So that's funny. I did a reading for somebody last night, and this was an important card that came up. And what is a Knight of Cups? So knights are fire and energy. They're the ones in the 1500s we would send into battle first. Cups are the element of water. It's mixing fire and water. And water is spirituality, emotions, feelings. So when you take the Knight of Cups, it's that fire and energy that we have sometimes with our emotions, sometimes running with our emotions without thinking. But the Knight of Cups is sincere at the time. But again, it's mixing fire and water, and it is, running with our emotions sometimes. But it also is based on what the next card is, which is the Empress. So, the Empress is, again, cards are gender neutral, not male or female. It's masculine and feminine, but this is our feminine side. This is our nurturing side. This is that mothering side that makes sure that our home or our kingdom or those around us are taken care of. So it's kind of like what the Knight of Cups, it's who the Knight of Cups would want to talk to, because court cards can be us, they can be somebody else, or they can be part of a situation. And it's determining how the Knight of Cups fits into this. If it's us, sometimes we run with our emotions, and it's good to have somebody like the Empress who understands emotions, who understands feelings. Sometimes, we may not believe other people know how we feel, but if you talk to somebody like the Empress, they're just going to smile because they've been there, done that, bought the shirt. But what is the next card? The Six of Wands, which is traditionally known as the victory card. So, wands, again, just like the knight, wands are the element of fire. So that's energy, action, creativity, passion. And then sixes are victory, because as I try and get in people's heads, it's like to help with the numerology. And I'll be teaching a class on numerology next month. That's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a demystifying the minors. But when you have one, that's a seed. One wand is that fire, passion, excitement. 2 is choices. 3 is growth. 4 legs on a table, and fives are always a challenge. We have to make a decision. Are we going to make it over that hill with the 5? Over. And we make it over. And 6 is that we did it. 6 is that, we put all that fire energy into it. We've gone through the 5 of Wands, which is all that argument or decision making that becomes difficult. And do we keep going? So, looking at this here, there are things that are our passion. Things that, for good or bad, that we run with. Part of mine is collecting. I mean, if you look in my room, it's like I collect Ouija boards, I collect books, I collect this. I'm in a relationship. There's these things that we have a lot of passion for. But sometimes we need to share that with somebody so that we don't get carried away with it. So, what is the advice card here? The advice card is, so the knights, fire and energy, and want to run with stuff. Okay? But then we filter it through the Empress. That means we can achieve something. And we do that by looking at it mature, like the king would. Kings are the element of air. Kings are thoughts. Kings are ideas. Kings are about strategy. But he's also the king of wands. So this is about learning the best approach for anything that we have going on. So with that as the advice card, let's think of it like this. What is it that sometimes runs away with us? We get emotional. We get fired up about. And sometimes it's like, it's one of those things where afterwards we might even say, oh, I can't believe I got this. Or I spent what money for that? And it's like, I mean, how many things do we have in our houses that we had to have at a particular time? That passion that had to have at a particular time. And then now if you think about it a year later, it's like you don't even remember what it was. So with the Knight of Cups, it's about filtering it through the Empress, running it past the Empress, seeing how the Empress, who we trust, and this could be internal, but it could also be somebody outside of ourselves, but running these ideas through a third party. Somebody that we know, somebody that we trust. And then they'll help to point us out in the right direction. And for me, I will tell you flat out, recently I was about to spend a lot of money on something I had never seen come up on eBay or for sale. And I have over 130 Ouija boards hanging on my walls. And I was so close to buying it for way too much money. And I talked to a couple friends of mine, and they're like, you know what? It's going to come back around. They're charging way too much money for that. So once I finally made the decision not to do it, it felt like a victory. And I felt like the King of Wands. It's like, you know what? It will come back around. And so it's about having the maturity of thought. It's about still having the passion and everything else. But it's also about taking control of my moment. So, well, Vicky, I have pretty much the entire history of Ouija boards hanging in my house. From 1890 all the way up to modern. Because I really like collecting stuff. I like the idea of living in a museum. So, with this, though, it's that maturity of thought when we want to just run away with our passions. And with that, I hope everybody has that amazing day. It's Friday. Enjoy. I will be back here again on Monday. So thanks again and take care.
Stop. Stars in the sky, cards in my hand.